What is going on, guys? It's Georgia coming at you with a little bit of a college review. Now, I will say it has been a while since I did a top 25. Not too many people were super interested in a specific top 25 from one guy. So I didn't really do those because they didn't get a lot of traction. Not too many people were involved. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit and say what I agree with the committee and what I don't agree with the committee. So if you looked at my preseason top 4, you'll see that I had Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and FSU in the Final Four. 3 of those look like they could pan out. I think FSU still wins the ACC, although Louisville is right there. They absolutely could beat them in the ACC championship. Georgia still has games, and the SEC matchup is already made for Atlanta. That is Alabama and Georgia, and make no mistake, Alabama is a drastically different team than the one that lost to Texas in Week 2, okay? Don't mistake that. Alabama looks phenomenal right now. Jalen Milroe is playing really good football. The defense, specifically Dallas Turner, you're looking at him with what happened with the Jaden Daniels thing and people saying dirty hit or not, but still highlighted him, got his name out there. Texas was next. They could still win the Big 12, absolutely, but I don't know they get into the Final Four with the way the Pac-12 is looking. I think that now either we'll go to Washington if they win or Oregon if they win the Pac-12. And then Michigan, which has been just everything I've heard is sign stealing, and it's just, honestly, I'm tired of hearing about it. Like, either we're going to take them completely out or just let them play. Like, this is ridiculous. It's all we've heard from Michigan. But they still have to play Ohio State. I still firmly believe that they will beat Ohio State at the Big House. But if chaos theory happens and you get Alabama beating Georgia in the SEC championship, you get Oregon beating Washington in the Pac-12 championship, and Ohio State wins and beats Michigan, do you put Ohio State and Michigan in? Do you put Alabama in? Do you still put Georgia in, even though they didn't win the championship for their league? Like, a lot of chaos theory. So I still hold true to 3 of the 4. I still think Michigan, Georgia, and FSU will get in. Probably not Texas. I think that's the Pac-12 team. But chaos theory could absolutely happen. But today what we're going to talk about with Georgia is incredible win at Missouri. I think Missouri is the 3rd best team in the SEC. It's not LSU. It's not, even though Jaden Daniels, I think Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback that is playing college football. I know they have losses, but they have to stop people from scoring. He can't do everything, especially when he got knocked out of the Alabama game and Alabama just took over. The LSU defense is not great. But what's going to happen is, already I've listened to podcasts, I've listened to other forums on YouTube, and you're hearing, and to Josh Pate, his credit, he is not one of the ones saying this, but what I'm hearing is Tennessee's not a good football team. Georgia's going to go up there. They're going to cover the spread. It's not even a game to look at. You know, it's the 3:30 kick, and it's the last one for both teams with the CBS thing at 3:30. So enjoy it, Georgia fans. You might as well just look forward to Atlanta. What? What are we talking about? The biggest thing I hope is that all of that noise does not get into the locker room at Georgia. Okay? I really, really hope that doesn't. Because Tennessee can upset Georgia. They can. Period. Do they have the same team, and are they as explosive as last year? No, because this year they're a better running team than what you had with Hendon Hooker last year as a passing team. Is the defense better? Yeah, a little bit. They get after the quarterback. You're still with a year 1 starting quarterback, and I'm not saying Carson is playing bad. He's not. He is playing a very underrated, very, very good season. And I think that's with staying with the program, staying up under Stetson the last 2 years. what he was able to do, being able to get plugged in a couple of times to get game reps last year and growing through the season. We don't talk about that enough with Carson, but we hear a ton about it with Jalen Milroe is, well, they've grown through the season. Carson's grown as a passer through the season. But don't just expect to go into Neyland with 108,000 people to just, oh, well, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. It's just they're going to win. Tennessee's not a good football team. They still have players, guys. Okay? Georgia signs a ton of 4 and 5-star recruits. I understand that. They have more than Tennessee. They look better, especially last weekend where recency bias absolutely has played into the number of people that I have seen go in and say, oh yeah, Georgia wins. No question. This Tennessee team, they lost to Alabama. And if anybody thought they weren't going to lose to Alabama in Tuscaloosa after last year, you haven't paid attention to Nick Saban football in 15 years. Anybody who's everybody knew Alabama was going to beat Tennessee this year. Just what's going to happen. Now, losing to Florida, and then the recency bias of them going to Mizzou and just getting stomped is a thing here. They're like, well, we beat Missouri. Georgia beat Missouri, and Missouri beat Tennessee by almost 30 points. I understand that. One, Tennessee was at Mizzou, and Mizzou came to Athens. Big difference. Two, it's still an SEC team. It's the same kind of thought processes that the last team to come into Athens and beat Georgia, which was their last regular season loss, was South Carolina. And it's that same kind of feel of, oh, this is a foregone conclusion. Oh, Georgia's going to win this game. Oh, this is... They thought that this was the same thing with South Carolina last year with Clemson and Tennessee. Oh, it's a foregone conclusion. Anytime you have people talking about it and going, yeah, it's a gimme game. Yeah, Tennessee's not any good. Those are the worst little potions of an upset to start. And I guarantee you, Kirby's going, see, that's what we don't need. And again, I credit Josh Pate with saying, no, let's not get too carried away. He talked about going back to the median, especially when you look where a team, Georgia, and their offense looked phenomenal in Athens this past weekend. Tennessee looked abysmal in Mizzou this past weekend, and we start to get towards the median a little bit, which is what he's talking about, the money line, which was 10.5 points in Georgia's favor. Don't think that Georgia is just going to walk into Neyland, win by 60, and you don't have to worry about it. Those are the kinds of things that a little crazy. Makes me nervous as a Georgia fan from 10, 15, and 20 years ago, where Georgia couldn't get over the hump of the big game. They couldn't win the big game. Now, they've won big games here, especially since Kirby got here. I get it. 2 back-to-back national championships. You win the SEC championship last year. You get experience in the big games. Those are different teams. A lot of those guys are in the NFL, specifically in Philadelphia. What I'm saying is don't take, and I hope the team is not, don't take these for granted. Oh, these are gimme games. Kirby doesn't say that about Ball State. Kirby doesn't say that about UAB. We all do. Anybody that talks about college football. Because it should be. The talent roster is just so drastically different that this team should win. But we see upsets all the time. App State loves to upset Power 5 programs. Tennessee's still an SEC school. Neyland still holds 108,000 people. Tennessee still wants to have a chip on their shoulder and something they can hang their hat on and kind of change the direction of the program back to trending up, which they were last year, by beating the number 1 team, which Georgia is. And I think it's fair. I love that they put Missouri up there. Missouri's a really good football team, and I love that they're at 9. And Missouri gave Georgia a hell of a game, a lot more than Ole Miss did. So that's what I'm worried about, is don't just expect Georgia to walk in and just do whatever they want to do in Neyland. It's loud. And I was at the Ole Miss game. We were loud. We affected the Ole Miss team. You think Tennessee's not going to do that to Georgia? They're going to try. They're going to try their hardest. I still think Georgia wins the game. I do. There's enough film to look at what Tennessee does really well and what Tennessee does not do well. And when you look at that, what Tennessee does well is run the football. If you look at Mizzou, the perimeter running gashed up Georgia's defense. So that's what there's enough tape to where I think in the preparation and the standard that Kirby set and the team has set for themselves is there. But don't think Georgia can't get upset. Don't think that. Promise you. It can happen. I don't think it does this weekend. But this isn't a time to look forward to Atlanta. It's not a time to look forward and just skip over this. And Tech, who has won some interesting games this year, and that's in Atlanta at Bobby Dodd. So that's what I'm going to say is I've heard a lot of podcasts, a lot of the guys on YouTube. Tennessee's not a good football team. Georgia's going to win by 30. Georgia's going to win by 35. Georgia's fine. They're going to cover the spread. Don't be surprised if it's closer than you think. Don't be surprised if Carson is this much rattled a little bit. The last true road game was Auburn. And trust me, I've been to a number of games at Auburn. They're loud. They're rambunctious. But Neyland is a little bit louder, a little bit more rambunctious. And we will see. Now, I'm with Tennessee being out of the SEC championship game, they could throw their hat in and just try to get to the end of the season. I don't think that's what they're doing, but it could happen. I just don't think so. So there you go, guys. A little bit of change in college football. If you guys want another game reaction or anything, I will absolutely break down Michigan, Ohio State next week for rivalry weekend, which will be the game. And look at other stuff. If you do happen to enjoy my top 25 and getting a gauge on the other teams, cool. What I will say to end this, going with the Big Ten, I didn't like this Penn State team. I didn't like the Penn State team the whole time. And I don't think the Penn State team, I think they're overrated, and I don't think they're all that great. I really don't. So take that for what it's worth. The wins, as the committee looks at them, they're ranked wins, they're high-ranked wins. But if you put Mizzou against that Penn State team, I'd pick Mizzou. Absolutely. So, there you go, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys want. If you want me to bring back the top 25 going into the weekend, and I will be glad to do it for you. If you want me to talk about other games and looking at what the Pac-12 has done in their last year, which has been a phenomenal way to cap off each Saturday watching the late games, then I will do those for you. So leave it in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time. But until then, go Dogs.